So Dick Butkus was at the Bears opener on the 10th of September, showing up and being a part of the festivities, and then he watched that performance. It's like, I mean,
you can only take so much. Cody in Wisconsin, you're on Parkins and Spiegel. What's up, Cody? Thanks for calling.
Hey, guys. Thanks a lot for taking my call. I'll make this quick. My dad was about 10 years old in Wisconsin as a Packer fan until Mr. Butkus was drafted by the Bears, and he switched over from Packers to Bears. Long story short, when I was born, he named me Cody Butkus Christensen. So as you can tell, me telling my friends that growing up and getting graduated in high school and college with that name being fed off in Wisconsin, it turned some heads, but really sad to hear about the news. And I know my dad's going to be pretty sad when he hears that, but just love watching highlights of him. I didn't get to see him as a kid, but highlights of him growing up and playing football, just loved it. So thanks a lot, guys, for taking the call.
That's your official middle name?
His middle name is Butkus. Yes, his official middle name is Butkus.
That is amazing.
That's the type of legacy.
Yeah.
That's the type of impact.
I mentioned that Sylvester Stallone named his dog Butkus, and several texters pointing out that dog was in the Rocky movies.
Yes.
And called Butkus. In the Rocky movies.
Kind of a legendary crossover impact. Richard, you're on the score remembering Dick Butkus. You're in Milwaukee. What's up, Richard?
Correct, yeah. I was a teenager in the 60s, Packer fan. And Packer fans wanted to believe that Ray Nitschke was the gold standard middle linebacker, but I knew, and I'm sure that everyone knew Dick Butkus. He was the man. He was the one most feared. And look at all the things you're talking about. People naming their dogs and their kids Butkus. I mean, that Nitschke had no impact like that. Dick Butkus was the most feared player in football that I can ever remember. And my brothers and I still joke about, we're a Dick Butkus, Dick Butt Kick, we called it. and just by the way, I believe his son Luke, not long ago, was the offensive line coach for Green Bay.
His nephew, yeah, Luke is his nephew who played at Illinois. Played at Illinois and definitely was an assistant coach for Green Bay as of a couple years ago. I don't know if he still is or not.
Right.
But
former center offensive line coach for the Packers.
So he's the main offensive line coach for the Packers?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
WGN News here locally, by the way, confirming the death of Dick Butkus.
Okay, and there we go.
Dick worked there for a long, long time.
Jared Payton delivering that news right now.
Man.
Okay. So we do
no
have
better name to do it, probably.
Yeah, we do have a second source now on the very unfortunate news that Dick Butkus has passed away at the age of 80 years old.
So Ray Nitschke was a great middle linebacker and was bigger than Dick Butkus, but Butkus was faster and more feared and better, flat out better. So this whole Bears-Packers pride battle going across Illinois and Wisconsin that has existed, forever. Bears fans had Butkus to lean on against Packers fans, even though the Packers would win more.
Yeah, I take the wins, but I mean, hell.
But still.
Of course. I mean, that's the thing. Those teams.
Bears were stronger and tougher was the thought.
Well, and they didn't support him with enough players around him.
Correct.
That was the issue with those teams.
All right, so I'm going to say it. Bears by 1 million tonight.
There you go.
Bears by 1 million.
I mean,
can't lose the night that
Justin
Butkus
Fields,
dies.
2 rushing touchdowns, 2 throwing touchdowns. DJ Moore, 2 receiving touchdowns. Cole Kmet, 1. Khalil Herbert, 1.
I got to say, I wish we still had Roquan. Because
Butkus Award winner.
Jack Sanborn's going to have 5 sacks tonight.
He might.
Maybe put him in on offense, trick play, catch a pass like
but seriously,
what Butkus did on that failed extra point or field goal.
Roquan really, I know there were issues. I get it. I know and I remember, but he felt like a continuation of our middle linebacker dynasty in this town.
Yep.
He just really did. And just the anger and the tackling, the viciousness in Roquan's game. That would have been fun and satisfying to watch tonight. Maybe Tremaine Edmonds can cover somebody.
Bears by 1 million.
Pete on the south side, Butkus was your favorite Bear?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was lucky enough to actually see him play, and he was just an animal out there. I mean, just totally just ravenous. I mean, you'd see the blood on the top of the bridge of his nose and his fingers all taped up, and he was just out there destroying people. And you could look and see in the other players' eyes, their eyes would get real wide, and they knew they were going to get hit. And then down in the pile, of course, he would be still jabbing away at people. But, you know, he was a legend. I was actually at that Halloween night game when they retired his jersey. It's one of the Bears games I caught, and it was a bitter, terrible weather night. But it was it ran chills up my spine because I remember watching him play, and he was just phenomenal. And my condolences to everyone who knew him, and hopefully him and Doug and Gail are going to get together and have a beer up there in, you know, the big house upstairs.
Hell yeah, Pete.
So,
Thank you for the call, man.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the call.
Man.
I mean, he meant a lot of things to
That
a
got
lot
me.
of people.
That got me.
That's awesome. That's a hell of an image. If you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The idea of all of those legends. So TMZ is reporting that an all-time Bear, a football legend, the Hall of Famer Dick Butkus has passed away at the age of 80. Hub Arkush joins us on the Circuit Resort and Casino Hotline. Circuit Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sports book. Hub, I know you cannot confirm TMZ's report, but for the sake of discussion, let's assume it's true. What are your first reactions and impressions when you hear that Dick Butkus has passed away?
Well, you know, I actually am just hearing about this like everybody else right now, and it's hard to even focus. Dick, we just talked a few weeks ago, and, you know, I knew that he had some heart issues. He'd had some serious surgery. It was ironic because the surgeries, and a lot of it was similar to kind of what I went through about a year ago. Not that it has anything to do with me, but it's just heartbreaking. You know, I mean, Dick was my broadcast partner for a number of years. He was a dear friend. And, you know, I think that if you listed maybe the 10 greatest NFL players of all time, that Dick would probably be on that list. And more than that, just really good human being, you know, a great person, and just a tremendous loss for, you know, the Bears fans, everybody, sports fans, or anybody, you know, who knew Dick. And just my thoughts and prayers are kind of with the family right now.
It's deeply personal relationship for you, Hub, as you mentioned, your broadcast partner. And, you know, people think of him as of course, this incredibly vicious and violent NFL player. But what was he like? What was he like as a guy and a partner for you?
He was a great human being. He was a great partner. He was a great friend. You know, it's hard to imagine living a life like Dick had to live. You know, being one of the greatest football players of all time, being a legend. You know, everybody always, you know, wanted part of something from him, and he always handled it so well. And you know, he was really a fairly quiet guy until you got to know him. And when you got to know him, just a really kind and generous human being, you know. And I think it's important to talk about the football star too, because as I just said, one of maybe the 10 greatest players of all time. You know, he was all that and more. He meant so much to the game. He meant so much to the city of Chicago. And I'm sure, you know, anyone else who was fortunate enough to call him a friend or a business associate would, you know, pretty much have the same things to say about him.
On the football front, Hub, I mean, it's, you know, Bill George is thought to have kind of invented the middle linebacker position, which is part of why the Bears and middle linebacker are so linked forever. But Butkus kind of defined it, though, didn't he? Like, I mean, Butkus became the model for what middle linebackers would be for decades and decades.
Yeah, I think that is clear. I think that it would be hard to argue that he wasn't, you know, the greatest linebacker of all time. And I think a lot of it was more than the athleticism, the toughness and the commitment and the trying to make every single play in every single game. And, you know, he obviously was an incredible athlete. But I always, it's funny, whenever I think of Dick, I always come back to the toughness first. He was, the most impressive and toughest football player, I ever watched.
How, for someone, obviously I've never seen him play. I've only seen NFL films, highlights, and videos of the man. Like, how would you describe that toughness or that playing style for people who didn't actually watch 60 minutes of a game of his?
Well, it was obviously a very, very different game then, and you have to take that into account when you talk about it. But the thing I remember is the number of other great NFL players who I've been fortunate enough to get to know, who told me that when they had to play the Bears, they were a little bit afraid of Dick. He was that tough. He was that nasty. He made that many plays, and he really took. I think everybody else who played the game, would say about him that he was maybe the one that they feared the most because. Beyond the toughness, the hitting ability and the combination of the toughness and the athleticism, he made plays on the football field that no one had ever made before, and I'm not sure that many players have made them since.
It's interesting when you say no one had made them before, because we're talking about the early genesis of middle linebacker. You watch highlights of Dick and you see him shooting gap after gap after gap, and we're used to seeing that now from middle linebackers. But he must have been smart as hell as a player, Hub, reading running lanes and reading offenses, and then using the athleticism to get in there and punish people.
He was a big man, even by today's standards for the position, and the athleticism he had for a guy his size was incredible. I don't think he was known, for speed so much as the speed for a guy as big as him and the plays he made, and he never quit. The play was never over until Dick had made it, and then. Really, as the human being, he was also very smart. As I said, he was quiet and he tried not to share too much. But when you got to know him and you got to learn, some of the things that he had said and done, and just the way he acted in certain situations, he was very bright, and he was the complete package. I don't know any other way to say it other than that. He was probably, one of the most complete packages ever to play the game.
Hub, thank you so much. I know it's emotional for you. We really appreciate you jumping on so quickly after the news. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. And just again, my thoughts and prayers to the family, and I'm sure we'll learn more. And it's a great loss for all of us.